What's up, Cans fans? Paul here to talk to you about some AFL idiocy in the last hour as of my recording this. In a day where Collingwood's Nathan Murphy has been forced to retire over multiple hits to the head, multiple concussions, and it's an awful story, honestly, to see him leave the game. I know we like to obviously throw a little bit of shade towards the Pies from time to time. There's obviously lots of rivalries and those sort of things. But at the end of the day, these are a bunch of blokes that love playing football, regardless of the club that they play at. They love playing football. And you certainly don't want to see anyone's health be sacrificed for their love of the game. And so to Nathan Murphy, I doubt you're watching this, but if Nathan happens to be watching this, if anyone knows Nathan Murphy, if you're a Pies fan, sending my love to Nathan Murphy and Pies fans, because it's an awful story and you don't want to see anyone have to leave the game prematurely, let alone with head trauma. So when that news breaks in the morning, and then you have Charlie Cameron go to the tribunal that night for a sling tackle where Melbourne's Jake Lever took a hit to the head. And look, honestly, I saw the footage the night that it occurred, and I was a bit sus on Jake Lever's actions. I feel like he kind of flung his head a little bit into the ground and kind of exaggerated it further. But for Charlie Cameron, and I'm trying, it's hard. Like, it's been within an hour, and I'm trying to talk through this, knowing full well that we play Brisbane this week. And of course, people are going to, suggest that there's a bit of bias here and we want Charlie Cameron out because we want to have a better chance of beating the Lions, all those sorts of things. And I get it. And even for myself, I'm still trying to work through this a little bit in my head. I'm workshopping this as I talk to you right now. I just think it's wrong. I think it's so wrong that Charlie Cameron has been, had his one match suspension that was offered by the MRO reduced to a fine due to what I believe was phrased as extraordinary circumstances. And I'm gonna check the AFL's wording, or the wording that came from out of the tribunal here. But I did see like extraordinary circumstances or something along those lines get mentioned along the way, and that is absolute insanity to me. I was watching some live tweets from Fox Footy's David Zeta coming out from the tribunal, and he was talking about a whole range of different things. There was a whole bunch of different things, like there was character references being thrown out by Eddie Betts, who obviously the Cats we love, for what he did for Tyson, what he did for the Tyson Stengel, what he did for the club. He's and obviously he's a legend of the game. We love Eddie Betts. There was an Aboriginal elder that came in and spoke and provided a character references as well. And while it's all good and well for these things to be said, and I'm thrilled to hear that Charlie's a wonderful bloke, it doesn't change the fact that he slung a bloke, intentionally or otherwise, into the ground, and there was head damage that was suffered. It seems like it's very, very mild, and I think they tried to throw the Melbourne medical report in there, and we all saw Jake Lever get up straight away because, again, I think he kind of milked it a little bit. In terms of kind of flinging and I guess exaggerating the contact. But I'm baffled that they would come up with, on this particular day where we know of Nathan Murphy and what's happened with him, I'm baffled that they could come to a conclusion that Charlie has no case to answer beyond a fine. We're trying to rub this act out. Yes, there's no intent for the player's head to hit the ground whenever these things happen. I get that. And those who have been suspended, I get that too. I get that Braden Maynard wasn't trying to take out his good mate, Brayshaw. But the act is what warrants the consequence as far as I'm concerned, not the outcome. And this is a constant conversation within AFL circles, within communities around that talk about AFL as well, is what are we penalising here? Are we penalising the act, or are we penalising based upon the consequences? And the AFL seems to bounce backwards and forwards between these two whenever it seems to suit them best, or whenever the tribunal falls hook, line, and sinker for whatever BS is being touted by the representatives of the player being suspended. In this case, Adrian Anderson was representing Charlie Cameron, and did his thing and was successful. And I guess, pat on the back to Adrian Anderson and Charlie and the team who said their piece. But like, to talk about character references, to talk about how of the 0.5% of all AFL players to make it to 200, an even smaller number, and I don't know, what percentage of the 200 it was. There were stats being thrown around, and as a math teacher, these things should just stick in my head, but I don't have it. That an even smaller percentage of those players will avoid suspension, and Charlie is one of those. Like, sure, that's all amazing, but it doesn't prevent him from being suspended now. I mean, Scott Pendlebury had a squeaky clean record, and he played over 300 games and then got suspended for an act the other week. Like, it is what it is. It shouldn't matter what they've done before. I know we want to think about, good histories and good records, and there's places for those, courts of law and all those things when we're talking about serious, proper cases, when accusations of serious wrongdoing are being discussed and worked through. This is not that. This is football. And in the game of football, if you bump someone high, if you sling tackle or dump someone to the ground and their head hits the surface, no matter how good a bloke or how good a girl you are, regardless of, whether we're talking about the men's or the women's side of the game, it shouldn't matter. It just shouldn't matter whether you're a tip-top bloke or not. Again, I'm thrilled that Charlie Cameron is a good bloke. That's awesome to hear. But it doesn't matter. He should not be playing this week against the Cats. And again, this is where kind of complicated feelings come in, because he's playing against the Cats and we're a very Geelong-focused channel and remain Geelong strong and all those sort of things that I'll go through shortly. We want to see the Cats to win, and with Jed Buse currently out of the team, it does leave me a little bit concerned as to who we're actually going to put on someone like Charlie Cameron. There's worries there that come from this in terms of how the Cats are going to handle the Lions this week. A Lions team that is starting to gain a bit of momentum, and statistically speaking, they're tracking better than their 2-3 win-loss record. There's a whole range of different things that regarding the coming game that are absolutely in my mind. But if I try to check that at the door, my worry is that we are failing players here. There are court cases all the time about head knocks. We saw, again, Nathan Murphy today. We think about Paddy McCartan. We think about Brayshaw. There's so many players that are having their careers cut short for head trauma, from concussions, from bumps to the head, from tackles where they're slung and their head hits the surface. We saw a horribly ugly one with Sam Taylor on the weekend, which wasn't, an illegal act from anyone. It was just one of those accidents. They should be the only scenarios where this head sort of trauma occurs. And that was an awful one. That was sickening. But these are the only sorts of scenarios where head trauma should occur, where it's total accident. Two people just collided, two people that didn't see each other coming. Not, hey, I grabbed a bloke, I flung him to the ground and whiplashed his head into oblivion, and now he's seeing stars. Or I just bumped a bloke. And I know, like, there's the old school talk about, everything from the past, but I think, like, we're getting all these cases now about players who've suffered head trauma that are all coming out of the woodwork. No one spoke about it then because no one understood. There was no science. There was no research. There was no understanding. Now we do. And so we've got to think more reasonably about this. And so the AFL's failed in this case. The AFL tribunal couldn't stick to its guns, and they failed in this case. And so the result is that it was graded as a low impact rather than medium. And I can kind of see it. Like, in a way, I can kind of see it, because he got up straight away. And there's a whole bunch of reasons why you can say, yeah, it's low. But are we penalizing the action, or are we penalizing the consequence? And by saying it's low, we're penalizing the consequence, not the action. Those of you watching, Cats fans or neutrals, Brisbane supporters, I know you're probably not going to love me right now for talking about all this. But let me know in the comments what you think. Are we wrong for focusing on... Am I wrong, for focusing on the action rather than the consequence? Should it be about the consequence? What should Charlie have got? Should it be about the consequence, but this still doesn't fit the bill in this particular case? Let us know what you think. Hit us up on social media. Brisbane fans, I'm looking forward to a really tight clash this week. Hopefully it's a really awesome game. Both teams deserve it. Geelong fans, hopefully we come out on top on the weekend. Remain Geelong strong. Thank you very much for watching. Let us know all your thoughts in social media. Hit us up on Patreon. All those amazing platforms. They're all there for you to explore. Check out all things Hoops Crew. Thanks a lot for watching. Remain Geelong strong, and I'll see you later. Go Cats.